Welcome to Sunday Night Live and Monday Morning Live. Um, you'll never guess I had trouble with the technical stuff. Yeah. So anyway, welcome everyone. And today I didn't even look at the questions at all. So we're going to have fun with this today. Let me just say the things I got to say initially, which are that just to remind you of this format. This format is you've already sent in questions, or people have sent in questions, and I've got a list of them here. So we're going to try to answer as many as possible. So what happens is, of course, as we proceed, everyone is questions arise, and I can't really deal with them. I can't really answer the questions that come live. So that's why we have groups. So that's one of the reasons we have the groups, and the groups allow us to have interactions. So I can answer your questions, and I do that twice a week. We have private Zoom meetings, and I answer questions until we're done. It's usually quite a few hours. But anyway, please join the groups if so we can interact, and I can really kind of understand a question, because a lot of times I'll read a question and there's just not enough information for me to really grasp what you're talking about. And so then I would ask you a question, you'd ask me, and we'd figure it out. So it's really important. And the other thing we do with the groups is there's a lot of I write a lot of papers on specific areas of interest, dealing with CFCs, of course, and parasites and other issues that we're all interested in. And then you have access also to Darren and Vanessa, who Darren's a kinesiologist who teaches us how to move without having to go to the gym and freak out. Actually a way to live your life so that you're moving around most of the day and still able to perform your normal activities, but you're moving around all day and you're getting movement and exercise and building strength. So that's that. And then Vanessa's a nutritionist, health coach, yoga teacher, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they're on Tuesdays, right? I'm on Monday and Wednesdays. So it's a lot of live interaction, and I know that doesn't happen on other types of memberships. A lot of other memberships are more, reading and watching videos and things like this. But this is all pretty much interactive, which is, I think, what we're all looking for. We need that human connection. We need to touch and not just read, right? And we can touch visually. So anyway, that's the groups, and you just go to drlodi.com and it will show you right there how to sign up. All right, drlodi.com, drlodi.com. So there's a health and healing group, parasite group, and the CFC group. And CFC, for those people who are brand new, is chronically fermenting cells, and it is what's going on when someone has a tumor. And it's referred to as cancer, and that's not what it is. Cancer is an astrological sign. It's nothing to do with tumors. So we use the correct words so that when we're communicating, we're actually communicating, and those are called CFCs, chronically fermenting cells. So we're all here, and you can't see how many people. How it's not going to let me know now. Huh? All right. Yeah, this I don't like this restream at all. So maybe that's it. So here we are. Let's get started. And of course, just as a reminder, I mean, this is kind of a crazy reminder for me to tell you how to tune in. And if you're not tuned in, you won't hear me. And if you are tuned in, then you already know how to tune in. So I'm not sure why I have to say this, but I'll say it. So X and TikTok, it's at Dr. Thomas Lodi, MD. All the others, it's at Dr. Thomas Lodi, at Dr. Thomas Lodi with no MD. And that's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Rumble, etc. Okay, so you're already here, and now you got reminded how you got here. Insane. Okay, let's get started. And here we go. One moment. All right, so let's go with the first question here. All right, and the first question is from Pobilus, who's in Thailand. All right, so Sawadee Kap. Um, I have been diagnosed with schistosoma hematobium and schistosoma mansoni. I'm a 32-year-old male and I have been living in Thailand for the past 2 years. For the past 8 months, I have started feeling something is wrong in my urinary tract, pain in the bladder and testicles. I came back to Lithuania, but no doctors were able to help me with the treatment, only with diagnostics. Could the doctor please consult what medicines should be used to cleanse my body from these parasites? I know they are dangerous, um, and any insights would be helpful. Um, well, first of all, I think I know I've talked about it before, but I'm not sure more specifically. But schistosoma, there's several species of them, and they're flatworms. They're flukes. What they call flukes, and um, especially the hematobium. It travels to the urinary tract, in the bladder, and it can cause all kinds of symptoms that you've probably been having, right? Like, um, I'm not sure if you had like itching, a rash, pain. I think you mentioned that, and you get basically you have trouble urinating, and it's pain, and something's wrong, and you may not be clear. Sometimes you'll get blood in the urine, which is why they call it hematuria. They call it hematobium, schistosoma hematobium. Hema stands for blood. Um, and you have painful urinations, which sometimes can be confused with a sexually transmitted disease, but soon you find out it's really not. Um, and so our reaction to it is not actually the worms themselves, the adults, but the eggs, and the eggs cause problems, and they get the immune system going. So, here's an interesting thing about these and other parasites in particular. I mean, these in particular and other parasites is that uh, when they're having when the egg when the okay when it comes out of the egg and it goes into a larva stage and then an adult stage, the material that the body is built by as it's growing comes from us. They're in us, and so that often is a disguise to the immune system. The immune system may not see the worm as other; it sees it as self because it's got the antigens and is made up of the materials that the person is made up of. And so that's one of the ways in which they're able to escape being damaged by the immune system. However, the eggs don't. The eggs are them, and that's what our immune system can identify. So the problem with a lot of these is that the eggs are in the tissues, not accessible easily. So soluble egg antigen. There's lots of problems with that. But anyway, the drug the drug that of choice usually is something called praziquantel. I'm not sure if you've had that. You must have, because that would be that's the main drug. So praziquantel is specifically works well for flatworms and flukes. There's one in Thailand here that is actually winds up causing cholangiocarcinoma. So this one, instead of liking the bladder and the urinary system, it likes the biliary system inside of the liver, and it goes in there, and that's where they grow. And left untreated, you wind up developing CFCs in the liver, the biliary system in the liver. Pretty nasty, but again, treated correctly, which is praziquantel. So one of the problems is that if you get this treatment from a regular doctor, they go according to the prescribing guidelines, which are always not enough, or never. They are never enough. Always not enough. Right? They give you they may give you a good dose, but they'll have you take it only once a day or something, or twice a day maybe, and for like a period of 5 or 7 days, which is just not enough. Because as I said, the problems that are being caused are mainly by the eggs, right? And so now they're deeply embedded in tissue. So when you take a drug, maybe for a week, a drug like this, it's not enough. It may get a lot of the adults, but it's not going to get to all the eggs. And then those eggs are going to hatch, and then they're going to produce more eggs, and they're going to hatch and have more eggs. And so you just don't get to it. So which is why the program that we suggest is heavily for 3 weeks, off for 1 week, heavily for 3 weeks, off 1 week. Okay, and we do this repeatedly until we have really had an opportunity to penetrate deep into the tissues. That's what has to happen. All right, the other way just doesn't work, and obviously, because now I'm sure you must have. See, this would be an opportunity. If you were on the parasite group, I could ask you, what have you done? How have you tried to deal with this? But anyway, if you can get praziquantel, should be easy to get. It's hard, a lot of times to get this, properly from a doctor and then have them write a prescription doesn't work, because even if the doctor agreed that, okay, you need to have multiple cycles of this, the pharmacies are going to say, well, we can't fill that because that's not the usual prescription. There are all these rules. There's these, they call them guidelines, but they're really just instructions. And you got to follow them, or not, or you don't get it. And that's the problem. So a lot of times people that have these issues find help by going around the system. They've got to find another way to get it, and sadly, that's just the way it is. So now, what did you say now? Okay, so anyway, so Povilas, I wish I could find out what's going on. So praziquantel, usually 600 milligrams. What I'd recommend is 3 times a day, every day, and then for 3 weeks, 1 week off, 3 weeks, 1 week off. But I would not just do one, and the reason I would not just do one is if you have multiple different medications. So you could use ivermectin, you could use the bendazole or albendazole and bendazole, and the praziquantel, right? And then you get something for protozoa, because they don't remember these parasites live in ecosystems. They've got whole, it's a community, that and community. Just think of our communities. In our communities, we need to have plumbers, electricians, teachers, chefs. We have to have all of that in order for our community to survive. And same with them. So they won't just be alone. They'll not only be with perhaps some other parasites such protozoa, but they'll also be with a lot of other microorganisms, such as bacteria, who are all like just colonizing and living, but they support each other. So that's why using multiple different medications, you're gonna have you can get all of them. And also, even though, for example, ivermectin is not considered the drug of choice for schistosoma, but it still can get a certain part of it, and so can the bendazoles and the benzimidazoles, right? So you're getting them from many different directions, metabolically, and you're doing it hard, strong, 3 weeks on, and then you take 1 week off. And that 1 week off is to give your liver a chance, right? Because the liver has to neutralize and eliminate these medications from the body. That's the job of the liver. And when it's doing, when it's on top of the work the liver normally has, now it's got these 3 drugs that are being cleared by it. It just becomes overwhelmed to a degree, and it starts to get inflamed, and it spills over enzymes. And so you'll see your liver enzymes go up. But that's why 1 week off gives that a chance to rest. Now, these protocols, these regimens. So when I see people on the internet for some reason saying Dr. Lodi's protocol, Well, I don't have a protocol. I don't know. So they don't have it. If I don't have it, how could they have it? The protocol is, it varies with the person and the situation. There's, you might need to take it and can take it without a problem 4 weeks on and 1 week off, or you might be a week on and 3 days off. So we don't know. It's something we need to find out by getting started and doing it, and that's what the guidance would help with. So there is no protocol. And by the way, listen, if it doesn't come through, if it doesn't come through my website, drlodi.com, they're not me. And it's all over. And I don't know why people are doing this. I don't understand it. But anyway, just know that that's not me. The only places that I am are in the membership groups and this Sunday Night Live. That's it. There's no other. I'm nowhere else, and I'm not affiliated with anybody. So that's that. But anyway, the concept, the philosophy, the intention of what I do is to hit them hard because they're deep. They're very successful at evading us. Right? That's why they're what they are. They've been around for a long time, and so they know how to avoid us. And they're not. You're not going to just throw a couple pills at them and they're gone. It doesn't work that way. And as I said, they have their life cycle. The eggs hatch, and they're like millions of eggs. It's crazy. So you've got to go really hard, and that could be 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It depends. Some people, they've got to go a little longer because the situation is so intense. All right. So, Povilas, join the group. Go to drlodi.com. Join the Parasite group, and let's talk about this. I got to find out what you've done and what you haven't done, and what results you've had, etc. Okay, because you do need to take care of this. All right. Now, the type of CFC that develops from this parasite is it's different than most urogenital or CFCs. Different in that it's a different cell that becomes a chronically fermenting cell. So in the case with the schistosomas, it's the what are called squamous cells. Those are the cells that line. We have squamous cells on our hand, so I mean on our skin. So squamous cells usually are cells that they're kind of flat cells that line different parts of the body, line tubes and line our skin. But that's the type of cell that becomes a CFC. So if someone has bladder CFCs, you can just tell if it's if they're squamous cells, if they originated as squamous cells, then we know it's schistosoma. Otherwise, it's not. But anyway, that's just a side note. So Povilas, I guess you're back in Thailand. So, hello at drlodi.com. Hello at drlodi.com. You can get in touch with my assistant, and we can get going. Because if you're in Thailand, you're available. You can walk into a drugstore and just buy praziquantel. So that's a tremendous benefit of being here. All right, now this is Vanessa from the UK, and she says, I'm really keen to do a parasite cleanse. I've been using the herbal stuff, but I'm not getting very good results. However, I live in the UK, and it's really difficult to source antiparasitic medications here. Even if I reach out to my GP, they're not likely to prescribe any medications unless there's physical proof that I have worms, and they certainly wouldn't prescribe all the medications that you mentioned. I understand you conduct online consultations, but is there a way for you or your team to prescribe medications for someone residing in the UK? So here's the situation, Vanessa. The UK is particularly difficult. Europe is difficult. We all know that with supplements, because the Codex Alimentarius went through. I forget when that was. I think the late 90s. I can't remember. But the Codex Alimentarius is where the European Union decided, and UK decided, that vitamins and supplements would now be under the auspices of some governmental agency, right? Like in the US, it's the FDA. And therefore, the amounts that would be allowed would be small amounts. And so, but there are still over the counters. You can still get these over the counter. So, but you can only get like vitamin C at 50 milligrams, which is not enough for anything. But that's what's considered the recommended daily allowance. So, similarly, the freedom of the doctors to prescribe and do, offer the kind of treatments they want to, is very limited there, very limited. Except for Germany. Germany is, a lot more freedom. They can do a lot more things. So if sometimes if you can go to another country, it's helpful. Now, can you get them into the UK? Yes, people do, and I don't know how, but I just know I know many people are able to get it in. Because you're right. Even if you met with your GP, first of all, they wouldn't prescribe the amounts that you need, and if they did, the pharmacies wouldn't fill it. So it's that same issue I was just talking about. So, and if you've got a problem that's really serious, sometimes you just need to like leave and go get it. We help people. If you contact us at hello@drlodi.com. A lot of times we can help you, but then the problem is, will you be able to receive it in your country? Will the mail system allow that? And that's just an unknown. It happens sometimes. So it's we find that if you send a small package, sometimes but you want to be sure, because it sounds like you had a problem. So to be sure, I know it's not the answer you were looking for, but I can't think of another one. You've got to leave there where there's so many restrictions, and you've got to go to a place where you can get them, and then I don't know what the laws are for bringing them back. So, but anyway, when your health is at stake, when you're dealing with a problem when you have a health problem that is serious enough to be asking me these questions, then you got to say, well, I got to do whatever's necessary. And if that requires getting away. Now, a lot of the herbal things like Hulda Clark's formulations are fantastic. And I've said this before, the reason I don't think that people respond to herbal formulas as much as we have in the past is because our immune system has systematically, decade by decade, been suppressed more and more and more, starting probably right around even in the 19th century, as we weren't exposed to electromagnetic frequencies, but we started to become more and more toxic. So and remember, the immune system is to neutralize toxins and eliminate organisms and abnormal growths and stuff like that. But there's a point at which it can get overwhelmed, and we know that's what we see. Then it gets overwhelmed when, for example, let's say you're not eating healthy, you're not eating food, you're eating whatever it is that people eat nowadays. So you're eating that stuff, and it's full of toxins. Toxins are things that your body has to eliminate, otherwise they're going to cause damage and accumulate and cause damage. So if you're getting that through your food, if you're getting it in your water, your clothing, you're getting it all that. It's just a healthy immune system from the year 1700 could deal with it. But now, after the 19th century, we got into the 20th century. We started putting up telegraphs, and then on and on and on. And now we've got 5G, 6G, and these modern technologies have our immune systems just can't deal with them, because they deal at a frequency level. They get right in there and destroy our cells. So when I look at people's immune systems, I do a lymphocyte subset, and I see, and I'm talking about people that are not even, like, for example, the spouse of one of the people that I work with, as you call patients, but anyway, let's say I have a patient and their spouse who doesn't have any particular symptoms, feels healthy, and we check their lymphocyte subset. I find out that it's the same as their spouse, and that's because they're wherever they're living. And then you got to find out, wow, are you where you're living look it up on some sort of 5G map. what's the density of 5G towers in your area? And I don't even know if 6G has towers. I do know that usually if we're told that things are going to happen, like next year or something, it's already happening. They've already been testing it on us. Okay, so one really rule of thumb that I think most people already know, and that is we never, ever, never, and that means ever, never get the truth. All right. It is verboten. They cannot speak the truth on the news. Cannot. So you can't get the truth. So don't look for it on the news. But anyway, so if they're telling us they're going to do something, they've already done it or whatever. But what they're doing is decades ahead of what we're going to see. Just like the technology we're seeing right now, we think it's all fantastic. And I don't know, people might think that AI is a great thing, but it's the end. It was the final. 2024. There's a video I put out called the Undeclared War. You can find it archived in Facebook or Instagram or maybe YouTube. But watch it, and I kind of go through the 4 periods in 2024 when AI was deployed. And I mean, and now it's been it's been like, okay, 2025 is over, so it's been a year that it's been around, and everybody, it's like I got a new one, Gemini or whatever. It's great, and I'm sure that as soon as we load this in, as soon as you download it or whatever it is, now think about it. If you watch it work, it goes through and reviews like 160 websites in less than a half a second. So if it does that, do you not think when you load it in that it becomes part of it? You're not going to get it out. You don't know that. It's there. And when we turn these things off, they're not. It doesn't matter. They're off for us because we have limited receptive ability in most spectrums. They don't. So anyway, we invite them in. What was that? You remember the vampire stories? There was a lot of vampire stories. What, about 10 years ago or something? Do you remember the vampire? The vampire could not come into your house unless you invited them in. You have to invite them in. Same thing. We have invited them in. We're inviting them in. Hey, you know what? I've got all of these conveniences, right? Now, I don't have to get up anymore to put on the TV, right? I don't have to go buy my food. I can just call. It'll come here. I don't have to. Everything's pretty convenient. And you know what? I don't want to bother thinking anymore. So can you think? And it will. So it's thinking for us. Yeah, it's thinking for us, right? There are people now who can't do anything, any kind of project or anything without using this. And you remember, they don't tell the truth either. If you know the answer to the question you're asking, ask it. You'll find out you're not going to get the truth. Anyway, so we are exposed to that. Our immune systems are being destroyed. Our minds are being destroyed. So that's why these herbal products don't work as they used to, right? Because our immune systems are in trouble. So what do we have to do? And I want this to really be heard. And that is, yes, in some cases there are drugs we take. In many cases, we need to take supplements. But fundamentally, it doesn't matter. If you're not eating food, sleeping when you need to, having movement, learning to turn off the mind through meditation, all the things we do for health. If you're not doing that, if you don't establish a healthy way of life, whatever you do won't work. There's no way to get around it, because in the end, all the drugs and whatever things we think that are going to help us, they only help us on a foundation of health. And they work through, if a supplement's going to work, it's because it stimulated my body, my immune system, my reproductive system, whatever system it's working on. It stimulated it to function more optimally, because it's the immune system that will ultimately eliminate something or balance something. So we would take things to help that happen. But if it's not fundamentally healthy, if it's already weak because of your lifestyle, you can't make it stronger. Okay, so that's why understanding that there's nothing external I'm going to take in that's going to make me heal. I need to be supplying what my body needs, right? We all do, right? And we all need the same things. We need certain minerals, number of minerals, because our bodies are made of that. Our bodies are made of the earth, and the earth is full of minerals. We need what are called phytonutrients. We need things that are called amino acids. We need the fatty acids, and we need carbohydrates in different forms. We need oxygen. We need water. Those are the constituents that make up our being. All right. And so we have to get that. That has to be the fundamental. And by the way, if you're accomplishing that, the truth is, if you're truly accomplishing that, you're done. Because what goes along with what I've just said is not only the physical, not only the food and the sleep and all the things that we know that we need to do physically, but it's the mind. The mind is reality. The mind directs the physiology. The mind is not the brain. The brain is the apparatus by which that the mind needs to access physicality. All right, that's what the mind is. So it's the apparatus. It's the operating system is the brain. The brain is pretty ridiculously incredible, right? So I mean, the amount of information it can hold, what it can process is AI can do better in most areas, but AI can't do a lot of things we can do. Inductive thinking, no. Being what we call creative thinking, which is the same kind of thing. No. Imagining, no. Right. So imagination is the ability to go beyond what you know into that area. And it's a wonderful thing. I mean, I don't know if when you were a kid, I remember when I was a kid, and even now, but when you're imagining, you're playing some game and okay, this is, you gotta, well, when we didn't have toys like you guys have today, you had a broom and that's my horse or whatever. But that imagination, it allowed you to all right, this AI is not going to have that. Okay. It's a genius at deduction. You give it a bunch of data and it can deduce anything. Okay. But anyway, so don't outsource your mind. Don't outsource your life. Okay. Listen, we're here to live. We're in the flesh. We're here to be in the flesh. We're here to live. We're not here to have something else. You understand? One kind of perspective I developed with regards to the term neurotic. You've heard that people are neurotic, right? We know we talk about different kinds of mental imbalances, right? And there's someone who's sound mentally, right? And what we mean by someone who's sound mentally is that they agree with the fundamental reality that we all agree with. We all have a basic set of assumptions by which we live, and if you're sharing those assumptions, okay, you're all right. You're all right. But anyway, so then we talk about neurosis and then psychosis. So psychosis is when you're no longer anywhere near the reality of anyone else. So you really the problem is there's no interaction. You can't interact. If you've ever seen a very severe schizophrenic, they're so lost in their internal whatever, um, that they can't interact. Someone just said here, do I have a clinic in Thailand? I don't have one now, tragically, sadly. However, there's a clinic here that a friend of mine has that I can use for certain situations. But I'm working on it. I mean, I'm working on it, asking the universe to please put one together for me. Um, but I do have a clinic in the United States, Arizona, an oasis of healing. So, anyway, the point is this: whatever we're going to take, that can't be our focus. Our focus has to be on restoring our health. We have to restore our health. And what happened was the disease model got us away from the healing model. Prior to that, we looked at, the world of medicine always looked at the body as being consisting of multiple different types of systems, and they, whatever it was, there's Ayurvedic, there's TCM, um, naturopathy, lots of indigenous um, um, uh, healing disciplines from different countries and parts of the world, but they all worked on the fact that the body is this incredible divine um, phenomenon, um, that when it gets out of balance is when there are problems, and just restoring that balance. And then we came on with the germ theory, and the germ theory said, no, 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 it's this enemy, and we're going to kill the enemy. So our focus has gone to that. So we're looking at right now, what are we talking about? We're talking about what weapons do you have? I have a weapon. Yeah, this weapon's called praziquantel. This weapon's called ivermectin. So we're getting weapons to. So it's a military operation. That sometimes it's necessary to do that. I'm not saying it's not, but it's only going to work if the foundation is there. That which you are trying to augment is able to be augmented and do the job. So remember, this is always the first thing to do, is to get rid of the garbage, clean out, cleanse, and that means cleanse here too. But to cleanse everything, rest, and then give the body what it needs to function. What does it need? It needs these certain things that we call nutrients and oxygen and air, and then because we're psycho spiritual physical beings, we also need to take care of our psychology, of our emotions, our feelings, and we need to always keep centered in our spirit. So, yeah. Hi everyone. Hi Gina. Great. So that's really that's really sad, Vanessa. That the only thing I can say is you have to leave now. I know of I know of a doctor in the UK, Dr. Ziggy, but I don't know if I'm sure he can't. That's the problem. The doctors are limited. That they don't have. They don't. They can't do what they want. I work with him, and he sees a lot of people the patients that I would have, who are in the UK, and he does everything that I would suggest, but only he's limited in things he can't get. So let me give you his name, his full name, because if you're there, it's worth finding him. His name is huh? He's got a clinic. Where is it? 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 It's spelled Siggy with Siggy. Yeah, um, and it's short for Siegfried. He's a German who lives in the UK now. The name of his clinic is what? Huh? High Tree Medical. High Tree Medical in the UK. Dr. Siggy. But anyway, yeah, so he might be able to help you. You know, I would hope that would be true. I'm just pulling up his website for a second. I can see. It's called High Tree Medical. Okay, High Tree Medical. All right, and he's in. So his name is Siegfried Trevzer, and very, very amazing guy, well trained, smart guy. So as I said, he's German who's been in Britain for quite a while now, and so you find him, High Tree Medical, and you know, maybe because he's there, he can direct you or help you in some way. Okay, very good. Now, no, where are you guys? Huh? How did I lose everybody? Huh? Help. Help. There we go. Okay. Wait, there we go. Yay. Okay. So I can't see how many people are here. I hope there's a few people on. Of course, we're gonna keep doing restream because it's fantastic, right? Dr. Lodi, when sweating a session with you, how long is it? Well, I'm not sure what that means. Okay. I can't. So you guys, please join the group so we can interact. I really owe it to the people who put it, submitted their questions to answer them. So the next question is again on parasites. Is that all we do now? Pretty much, huh? Anyway, let's. Now this is Donna, and Donna's asking questions about parasite meds. I've seen different ways people do the cleanse, cycling on 5 days and off 2, and then gradually increasing the time. However, some people start on one parasite med and cycle off and on until they're at maintenance, then start taking the next parasite med. Other people take 4 together, cycling 5. My question, can a person tolerate taking all 4 parasite meds at the same time? Yeah, Donna. They can. They, you know. I think part of the reason you have this question is because of the for the same reason that when the doctor goes to prescribe it, the instructions are that they prescribe it in low doses, and I'm not sure why they do that. Is it, my thought is this: if doctors knew, but they don't, but if they knew how to help you to get well, they really wouldn't, because you don't want to decrease the number of clients you have. I know there's doctors out there right now who are angry at me. And most doctors don't do that consciously. But the guidelines we're given, the instructions, the algorithms that we follow are algorithms that ensure that we're going to have repeat. Right? So you have diabetes and you go see a doctor. You're going to have diabetes in 30 years from now, but you will have been taking all this medication. It's not going to eliminate the problem that you came for. Okay. So what I'm saying is that, so we have this natural concern, oh wow, I take that much. I've never seen anybody take that much. But as I was saying earlier, and I hope you were listening earlier, that we need to do it very. Yeah, we need to use multiple anti-helminthic worms, and at least 1, maybe 2 antiprotozoals and an antifungal. But fundamentally, you're getting healthy. You got to be getting healthy. You got to be doing cleanses. you take care of your dentistry and all that. But once you're assuming that you're doing that, you're taking care of of the health of your body and mind. Then yeah, you can take you need to take multiple. And the reason that's so important is because, as I've said many times, and I know you've heard it, and that is if you undertreat, not enough to eliminate them. What will they do? They're going to be disturbed because whatever you're doing was like a problem. They survived it, but it was a problem. So they say we got to get out of here, and they migrate, and they'll go to another part of the body, and they can live in most organs. You don't want them migrating around and spreading. So you don't want to undertreat. You do not want to undertreat. Okay, undertreating is actually causing them to move, right? And they will. So yeah, you can, Donna. And like you said, taking all four, cycling 5 days and off 2. That's one way to do it. But unless if you don't have a liver problem, right? If you already have an inflamed liver, then you've got to be careful on the dosing and the frequency. But and the duration. But if you don't have any problems with the liver, then you can easily take these. And remember, while you're taking all these medications, you're also taking liver support, right? You're taking milthisil or silymarin. You're taking alpha lipoic acid, thiamine, which is vitamin B1. And you can also take N-acetylcysteine, NAC, and even phosphatidylcholine. And phosphatidylcholine is, well, it's one of the main constituents of our cell membranes. And so when our cells are repairing and healing and we're making new cells, they need that. So it's an extremely effective thing to do, especially with liver problems. It just helps rebuild cells very nicely. But those are the things you would be taking in support of the liver while you're doing the cleanse, which can be, like I said earlier, you can be 5 days on and 2 days off. It can be 5 weeks on and 2 weeks off. There's anything in between. Okay, you've got to find what works for you. And if you're checking your liver enzymes and you're seeing how you feel, that's checking. Okay, now, Mariah. Mariah says, is there anything I can take to control parasites while breastfeeding? I thought I got rid of the protozoa causing my ulcerative colitis, but every month after the full moon, I'm still getting symptoms. All right, so if you think you have a protozoa, I mean, you sound pretty sure. I guess someone helped you discover that. Yeah, the standard medications for that you wouldn't want to take while you're breastfeeding. But the herbal products, this would be a time to look at Hulda Clark's products, and there are other beautiful herbal remedies. The other thing is your diet cleansing colonics. If you have access to a holistic doctor, you could even consider doing some rectal ozone. Another thing that you can do for ulcerative colitis, and remember, ulcerative colitis is really an extreme dysbiosis. It's what's happened, and this is that becomes clear when you realize that one of the ways to deal with ulcerative colitis is fecal transplant. So basically, they get the microorganisms from the colon of somebody who's doesn't have ulcerative colitis, and put these microorganisms into you, and if they colonize, then you won't have what they're calling ulcerative colitis, which is just a set of symptoms and signs that you get from having an extreme dysbiosis. Dysbiosis means you don't have the healthy relative proportions of microorganisms in your GI system. You don't have them, so you need to bring that back into the harmonics of a healthy colon. And you do that with what you eat and what you don't eat, and cleansing the colon. And so that's what you've got to be working on, Donna. And, Mariah. Um, um, so if you've got ulcerative colitis, you've got to do that. You've got to, and the probiotics are fine, obviously, for breastfeeding. But the prebiotics is what you eat, all right? And you've got to be eating healthy food. You're breastfeeding, so you've got to be eating healthy food. I hope you've done colonics. I hope you have a way of dealing with because your colon is one part of a 10-meter or 30-foot tube. Okay, it's the last 5 feet or the last 1.5 meters is what it is. But there's a lot of the other. But it's contiguous, so it's all connected. So a dysbiosis in the colon, it's not just in the colon, it's also in your oral cavity, it's in your nasal cavity. It's all connected. So yes, take probiotics, but remember, if they don't find the food they need to survive, they won't hang around. They'll be gone. So you've got to be eating healthy. And eating healthy, I'm sorry, it's just it's uncooked vegetables, plants, seeds, nuts, fruit. So, I don't know why I have to apologize for it, but that's just the way it is. I don't know. You might not want to hear that, but what can I say? It's like me saying, yeah, I'm sorry, but humans can't fly. I mean, we can use machines, but we can't fly. That's hard. Can't happen. So that's just the way we eat. And if you ate that food, turns out that the microorganisms and all of their relative proportions are completely harmonious with our health. Yeah. So that's what you've got to work on, Mariah. And now that you're breastfeeding means you're not thinking just about yourself. So it gives you an extra. It enhances your motivation to do this. So you can do a good, healthy juice cleanse, colonics, and taking lots of healthy, lots of probiotics. And then you can even do rectal probiotics. You can get bifonate, 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 which is it's a powdery probiotic, and it's got the kinds of bacteria that are native to the colon, healthy for the colon. And so you can take like a half a teaspoon of this powder and mix it with some water that you would drink, and then you'll have a little slush. And somehow you can, there's different ways of doing it. You can try it with a bulb syringe, but I don't think they're strong enough. So, but you want to pull it up. You can maybe get a 10 cc syringe or a 20 cc syringe and put, I don't know if you can get a hold of the catheters that they usually have for putting in blood. Well, there's a needle part, but that once the needle comes out, it's still the catheter, and it's a plastic, that part there, and you can use that, or you can get the tubing from a urinary catheter and put that on. And there must be other things that I'm not aware of, because the idea is to get this up and then put it into your rectum just when you go to sleep, because you won't be walking around, you'll be horizontal, and the bacteria and microorganisms can colonize because they have a new generation every hour. All right, so they'll colonize while you're sleeping, and it's really good, because we're never sure when we take a probiotic orally if it's going to make it all the way to the colon. We just don't know, and in what condition, right? So just to ensure that you get them in there, it's a great thing to do nightly, and plus everything you're doing during the day. But you've got to improve your biome, because that's what ulcerative colitis. Ulcerative colitis is the Rockefeller name for a dysbiosis, just like SIBO is, right? Small intestine bacterial overgrowth. It's a name that is a description. Ulcerative colitis is a description. There's itis, inflammation, where colon. Okay, so there's inflammation in the colon, and it's ulcerative, meaning it has ulcers. Okay, Well, you just told me what it is, but so in order, what I'm saying is that these we think diagnoses mean something. They don't mean anything except they're naming it. Didn't tell you how to take care of it. So, and but that's not. It's not. That's the consequence of a dysbiosis. Okay, so that's to understand that. So the thing you need to do is correct your dysbiosis by eating healthy food. There's no other way. There's not another way. So it's very important. So Mariah, do that and try to get that bifinate, and and don't use the word. You don't have ulcerative colitis. You have you just have an imbalance in your gastrointestinal system, and you need to restore that balance. Okay, you don't need to kill anything or get rid of anything. You just need to restore balance, and that's what you want to be your, uh, your mission. That's your job right now is to restore that balance. Okay, and you restore the balance by making the environment suitable for the microorganisms you want, and to make it suitable, then you eat foods that are plants and uncooked. And a lot of people say they get gassy and it's hard for them to digest and stuff, and that's because of the microorganisms that are living in you right now are there because of our past dietary indiscretions, our past dietary failures, and so that's that's what we grew, right? We grew these guys. So now when I put in the food that my body was suited for, I don't have the help of those microorganisms because they don't know what to do with plants, right? So it winds up becoming gassy. So the way you get around this as much as possible is, first of all, you have to realize that there's going to be a period of time where there's transitioning while you're developing a new microbiome. But take some hydrochloric acid 15 minutes before you eat. You know, you can get HCl, hydrochloric acid, online. Um, 15 minutes before you eat so that your stomach is very acidic when you finally do eat. And then when you're finished eating, you take a handful of digestive enzymes to help you as much as possible. All right. Um, and you can work your way up into the amount you can eat. Um, so a lot of times during that early part, if you're going to eat healthy, you can make what are called blended soups. You know, where you use high-speed blenders, and other things, and plants like a spinach avocado um, soup. Delicious. A couple bunches of spinach, a couple of avocados, the juice of half of a lemon, and just blend it up into a real nice, delicious soup. Put some salt on it. It's fantastic. But you're getting it's easy to remember, don't just swallow them. You mix it with your saliva so that you get some, because there's some digestive enzymes in the saliva that are helpful. Uh, and that's because because we've blended it, it doesn't need to be chewed, so you're likely to just swallow it. So if it wasn't blended, it would still be chewable, and you would chew it, and it would mix with your saliva. So they're and just deal with the gas for a while. Make sure you do enemas daily. Do enemas and clean it out, okay? Because all of us have colons that are there's feces, gas. There's pockets of gas. What happened? We just went off. Huh? We're back on now. All right. Anyway, so let's go back to. Uh, okay. All right. I'm going over here. Now, this is from Lauren, and she says, my 52-year-old daughter recently started walking 45 times a week, 2, 3, 4 miles a day daily. Not obese, but trying to lose weight. She developed a foot issue, and this is the treatment she's receiving. The foot, getting a laser sonogram to relax the Achilles muscle in the back of the heel and stimulate the regrowth of cartilage. Also, she's being monitored for lupus. Huh. So, all right, Lauren. So, Okay, so no, what? Um, anyway, um, where were we? I got distracted here for a moment. Oh, okay. So okay. I'm not sure what happened. She's getting a laser sonogram to relax the Achilles muscle. So there's no Achilles muscle. There's an Achilles tendon, and that's the tendon for um, the muscle in the back of our leg, the lower leg, called the gastrocnemius, and it's got a tendon that connects it to the heel. So it's called the Achilles tendon, and that needs to be relaxed. So it sounds like her gastrocnemius muscle is spasming or in constriction, and that comes from um, she's well, obviously she's walking when apparently she hadn't been walking, so she hadn't been moving around. And when we don't move around, we do get stiff. In other words, our muscles aren't used to be working, and so they're kind of tighter, right? And so you can't just start expecting them to work at high levels. You've got so one of the important things before running or doing anything like that is to stretch properly. And so for her to do stretching, there's different ways to stretch the Achilles tendons and the whole gastroc. And remember that if you're standing on your legs like on your feet like this, um, I mean, just by squatting down and leaning forward, your Achilles tendon your gastrocnemius will stretch out, and or you could just be on the ground with your leg out in front of you and holding your toe, and doing like that, or just pushing your toes against. I'm not a physiologist, kinesiologist. What I would recommend really is that you get in touch with Darren, and you can find him on drlodi.com. Darren's the kinesiologist. He would be absolutely perfect for this situation. He could work with her directly, and you wouldn't need to go for any kind of intervention, and help her get back to total functionality. Okay, so Darren, go to Darren on drlodi.com, and that's what he does. You can work with him privately, and he'll meet with you virtually online and tell her exactly what to do, and it'll work. It does. It works. He knows what he's doing. That's really what I'd recommend, because that's not at all my expertise. Okay, this is from Jake. Okay, I was diagnosed with pancreatic CFC stage 3, but did have small spots elsewhere, but too small to test. Fast forward to today, they said in October after last CT scan that the tumor is roughly half the size and considering it dormant. This is after 11 rounds of FOLFIRINOX chemotherapy and pinpoint radiation. Also did and still am doing lots of herbal vitamin supplements. Also different binders with ivermectin and mebendazole. Also apricot seeds. AZXT, walnuts, and Brazil nuts, plus change in diet. I feel like I could be doing more for the parasites. I do have itching around spots at night. Never really felt like I have had or did a proper parasite cleanse. Can you help me? Can we do a consultation? I feel that the dormant CFC is not good enough. So Jake, unfortunately, I can do a consult if you just go to drlodi.com and you can arrange to have a consultation. We can do that. Sure, I'd be happy to do that. So do that, please. But on the other hand, um, just clarifying what you're talking about. Um, you're right. Dormant. There's no. That's not. That's not even a word that's not even a word that's used. All right. So if they said it's dormant, so here's the only way you can know if a mass is inactive, and it would be inactive because there would be no more CFCs in it. By the way, Jake, you're using not using that word, and I can see you might be new, so we don't use the word cancer because that's that's an astrological sign. Please don't use this word. But people use this word. It means nothing. You have chronically fermenting cells in your pancreas. Okay. And they gave you chemotherapy, which slowed it down. But the only way to know if it's active or not is you do something called a PET scan. And a PET scan shows you, it's usually a PET and a CT together, right, at the same time. So the CT will show you the dimensions of whatever's in there. And the PET scan will show you the activity level. So if you started out with a 5 centimeter by 5 centimeter mass, and now it's a 3 centimeter mass, but it's still active, you can only know that with a PET scan. But it could be 3 centimeters and completely inactive. And that means all you have left in there is like residual connective tissue and blood vessels and what we would call scar tissue. So we don't know. So I'd have, because the word dormant just doesn't apply here. So I don't know what they meant when they told you that. But in any case, everything you've mentioned to me, I want you to think about this, Jake. So I want you to go back and read what you mentioned to me. Everything you were asking me is, what can you do to kill this, to get rid of it? And as an aside, you said that you're doing lots of herbal vitamin supplements. Again, you're taking them with the intention, the same intention you have when you're taking a drug. You're going to, it's a battle between you and it. Okay. And if you understand that what you're talking about is what's going on in your pancreas, is that your pancreas has adapted to the situation in your life by producing chronically fermenting cells. Okay, that's an adaptation your pancreas has had to make, considering everything that's happening. Okay, so that's not a thing that got into you. It's not a foreign body, an enemy. It's not something you want to attack. You need to resolve it. You need to make sure that your pancreas doesn't need to adapt. And I'm not seeing that in your right. You're looking for tools to kill, and of course that's the Rockefeller game. So instead of herbals and vitamins, it's what are you eating, when are you eating it, and what are your eating habits in relationship to your sleep, and other things. So in other words, we've got to learn to eat in a healthy way, and that includes what we're eating and all that. So that's really important, especially if you're talking about pancreatic. Anytime there's CFCs in the actual gastrointestinal system, whether it's pancreas, small intestines, large intestines, liver, any place in there, means that it's involved in your digestive processes. And as we know, we know that if we have a sprained ankle, initially, you don't do this for a long time, but initially you let it rest to heal, because when we rest and we stop engaging a sick organ, it has an opportunity to heal. If you keep engaging it, it doesn't have a chance to heal. So one of the ways of resting a gastrointestinal organ, including the pancreas, is by not eating. So there needs to be periods of not eating. So you won't be eating 18 hours a day. You'll be eating only 6 hours, or actually be better for you would be 20 hours of not eating and 4 hours of eating, and stopping 5 hours before sleep. That means your pancreas is getting a break every day. You could also consider, I don't know your situation, so I can't advise you, but you could also consider doing a fast, which will really allow the healing to take place. So there's There's things you can do to change it so that you won't have this, because I can promise you, I do promise you, that the full Ferronox that you're taking is not going to solve the problem. Your condition is not a full Ferronox deficiency. And yes, the antiparasitics are good, but again, people get misled. For example, with the Joe Tippin story, now people think all they have to do is take ivermectin or fenbendazole. They don't have to. That's it, and that's the tragedy. So that even though the fenbendazole is good, is helpful, and so are these other antiparasitics helpful, but they're only helpful. They're not the foundation of what you need to be doing. Okay, so and like I said, pancreatic is in the gut. You need to do a good, thorough cleanse. If you can, fast. I don't know. So please join, make a consultation or join the group so that I can explore this with you further. Okay, because we need to, and especially it's pancreatic. So contact me as soon as possible today. Okay, and then the next one is all right. So this is Sean. Topic is parasites, and he says, please list all the prescription and natural alternative herbs, etc., for diabetes, parasites, and CFCs. Sean. Okay, so Sean, I hope you're listening. The question you just asked is a perfect question for AI. I wouldn't answer that question. The way I would answer it is by not answering it and giving you information so that you won't ever ask that again. Why am I saying that? Because you're saying that you want to know what weapons you can have to get rid of something. So that's not what's happening. Diabetes, if you've got diabetes, unless it's type 1, it's most likely type 2 because that's the majority. It's an eating disorder. So you need to absolutely change your diet. Not eat no cooked carbs. Stop eating cooked carbs. Eat in a small window of time. If you can, if you really want to completely resolve it and everything else, you'll change your diet completely to plants. And you won't cook them. If you still want to cook them, maybe steam 10% of them or something. But don't do anything like frying or baking or anything like that. So that's a pretty thing. Diabetes, parasites, and CFCs. Wow. Diabetes, parasites, and CFCs. That means you have a lot of metabolic imbalances. You're very unhealthy, Sean. So you've got to, instead of looking for things, I know you're desperate and you're doing what you can, and this is what you've learned. But what I want to do is help redirect you, get you away from trying to find ways to eliminate the military operation, and just say, now I need to really get my body healthy, because all the things you're talking about, diabetes, and not except the parasites, but they'll you can make your body less hospitable to them, but antiparasitics would be absolutely indicated. Yes, I agree. But CFCs, where are they? Are they in your colon or in the pancreas, lung? So, wherever the CFCs are, and diabetes, which means your blood sugar is high, you're insulin resistant, all that stuff supports the development of a CFC. You've got to do a cleanse. You've got to stop eating. And do some good fresh juicing. Now, Sean, you got to join the groups too, right? So you can, and the reason I recommend joining the groups instead of a consultation is a consultation is once, even if for 2 hours, doesn't matter. It's once. And then what? What do we do next week? What are you going to do the next month? So it's for the ongoing process. It's if you're a member, we could meet weekly. All right. But anyway, so you don't have three separate situations going on. You've got one situation going on, and that is that your body's not getting what it needs to be healthy, and it's getting stuff it doesn't need. So you got to clean out, and then you've got to and then you've got to change your diet and lifestyle so that you're living in harmony with your biological requirements, right? Um, and that's it. So for diabetes, you stop eating foods that are full of like cooked carbs. So you don't cook carbs. You don't cook, potatoes, rice, hot pasta, breads, or anything because that's cooked. A cooked carb will contribute a lot of glucose in your blood. Um, I'd say that's other than the obvious like sodas and candies and cakes and sweets like that. Other than that, if someone doesn't even eat sweets, it's still eating potatoes, baked potatoes, French fries, any of that stuff, even rice, bread, all that stuff is going to contribute. So you just stop eating that stuff, and just eat salads, um, and there's other raw dishes that are delicious you can be eating, but they won't be cooked carbs, and they'll be solid, good nutrients, and you're going to eat them within a certain window. And by the way, for the diabetes, which is what you've been told you have, it's basically insulin resistant, meaning that the cells in your body have become resistant to insulin. Insulin's job is to get the glucose out of your blood and into the cell, and it's not able to do that well enough, and so you wind up with high blood sugars, right? That's the hallmark of which was what they call diabetes, high blood sugars. And the high blood sugars are going to stimulate your pancreas to make more insulin. So you're going to have high insulin and high glucose. That's what we're talking about. So instead of calling it a name diabetes, we'll just call it what it is. That's what it is. So what do? We eat like I just suggested within a 4 to 6 hour window, and then you won't eat for 18 hours. And it's that not eating for 18 hours that will allow your insulin glucose dynamic to resolve, and your fasting insulin will come down. And that's very important because when your fasting insulin is low, you're no longer diabetic, or what they call diabetes. All right. Okay, so, but that's also the same thing you need to do for CFCs. CFCs are just another pathway along the progression of deviating from health. So we call it over here, we call it diabetes or high blood pressure, or gastritis. This is how it starts. And one of the final pathways is chronically fermenting cells. But it's a continuum. There's no distinct entities. It's a continuum of losing health. And that's what we need. So we need to find health. We need to restore health. We need to restore balance. That is the focus. That is the paradigm, the philosophy. That's what we're doing. All right. So, and your CFC. So you really, Sean, you need to really either join the groups or contact me, because just the nature of your question tells me that you haven't had a chance to. You probably were well until you had diabetes, but anyway, you probably didn't realize you still. I can't say you didn't. You don't. Anyway, we need to redirect you. You're in the right. I'm glad you showed up here. I'm glad you made it here. So let's help you. Okay. So please contact me. All right. Excuse me. I gotta. Okay. Sorry. I was going to sneeze. Okay. Where are we? How are we doing over here? Mhm. All right. Um, the one theme I think everyone can see here is that whatever the question is, the answer is the same. And you might say, "Who's this guy? What am I doing here?" Well, um, and it's because of this. Realize something. I say this a lot, and I understand that you're probably tired of hearing it. I understand that um, I'm looking for answers. I came here for answers. Okay, and my answer is, uh, uh, you got to get healthy. I mean, there's not another answer. I want a prescription or the exact tools to do what? Tools to do what? What do I want to do? I want to get rid of something, right? Whether it's a parasite or a tumor, I want to get rid of it. Is that what you want to do? It's really not what you want to do. I promise you, not what you want to do. What you want to do is get healthy. Because if you got rid of whatever it is you want to get rid of, but you had heart failure or depression or crippling arthritis, you're not going to be very happy. So you may be focused on one aspect of your ill health and thinking that aspect is separate from your ill health, but it's not. It's a manifestation of your ill health. And so what you want to do is restore your health. And if you restore your health, you don't have any of these things going on. And that needs to be the direction. Our direction has to be in restoring balance and health, not in a military operation against anything. You're not against anything that's going on in your body other than the parasites, of course. But anything that's going on that your body's doing, it's doing it out of necessity to try to adapt to the lifestyle you're living. And so, even on a psycho-spiritual, emotional level, realize that when you do that, you're saying, okay, instead of we're talking about AI earlier, we're outsourcing our thinking. We're giving our mind over to this machine. It's the same thing with our health, right? You can go to a doctor and they're going to get you healthy. No, it's not. It doesn't work that way. They can't get you healthy. Only you can get yourself healthy. They can't do anything. I mean, they can cut things off. They can poison you, but they can't do anything. They can't get you healthy. That's not a possibility. Only you can get yourself healthy. So the beauty of this on an intrapersonal level is that you are not now. You take responsibility for yourself. And it's not that you take responsibility. I don't like these words. It's not that you take responsibility. We're not. God's taking care of it all. But you realize that healing is innate to the organism. It's innate. What we call healing has been separated from a process called life. And life is, when we talk about it in metabolic terms, we talk about metabolism. Metabolism is the process of taking substances from external into the body, processing them and utilizing them, and then eliminating what is not necessary anymore. That's metabolism. And it's been looked at and divided into catabolism and anabolism. Anabolism is the building up, anabolic, and the catabolism is catabolized to break down. So building up and breaking down, and that's what metabolism is. That's what life is. That's what biological life is. We have new skin every 6 weeks. We have a new liver every 6 months. We have a new lining of our GI tract every 3 days. We have new retinas every 48 hours. So our body is continually doing that. That's what our body is doing. All right, it's continually renewing. So the one part of that, one aspect of that, is what we're calling healing. All right, but part of healing is breaking down also. Right, so you got to break down. So, for example, our bones are they call it remodeling, but our bones, in order for our bones to grow and to become strengthened, they break down and make new. Break down and make new. Break down and make new. That's part of it. And so we focus and we're saying that make new part, that heal. That's what I got to do. But healing is one part of living. It's one aspect of it, right? It's just like, one of the best things you can do to have your let's say you're a runner. You want to have your best time in the next upcoming competition, sleep. I mean, that's in addition to your workouts and all that sort of thing, your preparation. You also need to be sleeping. So part of running is not running. Part of, if you jump, with the whatever, I forget what you call it, pole vaulting, swimming, whatever activity, horse riding, I don't know, whatever it is, and you want to get good at it. An aspect of getting good at it is not doing it. Is the time that you're resting. So we've got to see the whole picture. So my best performance is going to be based on my good sleep, as well as. So anyway, what we call healing is one aspect of living, and so what we want to do is return to. We're never there. I mean, but as a species, we want to return to living in harmony with our natures. And the reason we don't is because we're with our cultures. We're all enculturated, whatever your culture is, and animals are not. I mean, a dog in San Francisco and a dog in Moscow is a dog. They don't. I'm a Russian dog. I'm an American dog. Dogs are dogs. Cats are cats. Okay, animals are just, and they're under the auspices. Their behaviors and everything are under the auspices of instinct, which is God. So they've turned it over. They don't need to meditate. They're in communion with the God all the time. We're always not there, so we got to take time out to pray and meditate because we're too busy living in fantasies, chasing. What are we chasing? Illusion. We're chasing illusion. Anyway, so we all enculturated. So whatever your culture is, you think this is the best interpretation of living life on earth, is to be the way Polish people do, the way Australians do, the way Nicaraguans do. No, none of them are. Any culture is an abomination before God. I'll explain that another time. It doesn't matter. Anyway, the questions should be, your problem should be, is like, what am I doing that is not allowing me to do what I need to do? What is inside me is blocking my ability to do what I need to do? Because you all know what you need to do. I mean, I know you're asking these different questions. I'm gonna like tell you that I don't believe that you don't know. I don't believe that you don't know. I know that you know. You may even have fooled yourself and you think you don't know. But you know. You may know without knowing. In other words, it's in an area, if you're behind your mind, where there's just an awareness. And you got to clean up. You got to clean it. You got to get. Nice American expression. You got to get your shit together. You got to clean up. What you got to do is get rid of the toxins. Go to sleep. I mean, you must be bored. I'm almost bored saying it, but there's nothing else to do. And do we need tools? Yeah, we need tools. But the tool is going to work on something that's already whole. So the goal needs to be is, why am I not doing this? Why am I not doing what I need to be doing is fast, and I need to be eating healthy. Why am I not doing it? That's my problem. I don't spend my time looking for things to. I would love to redirect you, and I know that I will not be able to do that. Anyway. Okay, so this is Landon, and the topic is other. Hello, I have chronic back pain. I have 3 bulging discs. Let me back in. All right, good. Hey, uh, are we on? All right. Forget this restream. I'm serious. I'm serious. This restream it sucks. You know that word sucks? It sucks. All right? Sucks. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay, so back to Landon. I have chronic back pain. I have 3 bulging discs and a foraminal stenosis. Recently, I went to regenerative pain medicine doctor out of desperation, and he assessed me and said pain is from my SI joint, not disc bulging, which was a surprise. The recommendation was exosome, platelet-rich plasma, and prolozone injections to the SI joint. I did the first treatment, but I was wondering your opinion on exosomes before I do more, as well as any other suggestions for my condition as it affects my daily life. Yeah, well, um, all right. So you've got 3 bulging discs. I got. Are they in the sacrum or lumbar spine? I mean, lower lumbar. You didn't specify, but anyway. So you have 3 bulging discs. And what happens, as you can imagine, you have vertebra, which are your backbones, right? And they're stacked up because they're guarding your spinal cord. Between the bones is a fibrous sac there, a disc, cushions. It's got a fluid in it. Um, so it's bulging. In other words, it's something is putting pressure on it so that it's bulging. When it bulges, it rubs on the nerve as it comes out of the nerve that comes out of the spine on either side, the nerve root. And that nerve root, when it gets touched by the bulging disc, it's pain all the way down that nerve. And that's what's happening. Okay, so now, the question is, why is that happening? How is that happening? And so this guy you went to see, so the MRI showed that you had foraminal stenosis, and 3 bulging discs. And your degenerative doctor said the problem is your SI joint. That's only one joint, but you have 3 discs. So I'm not sure that what your doctor was talking about. I'm not sure if it can all be localized to one joint as being the problem for all of that. I think there's more. So what I would recommend is you find someone who's trained and experienced in structural integration, myofascial release, right? and even craniosacral therapies, because these will really help straighten that out. And it could, and it could be, believe it or not, your cranial bones. And then there's cranial osteopaths. But if you go to a good biological dentist, and you got to start up there, because I realize that the spine begins up in the brain, actually, right? And which is housed by the skull, and you got all this apparatus around it, and all of those structures affect that. So the placement of our cranial bones, 7 cranial bones, if that's a little bit off, that affects the entire spine. But anyway, there's lots of things that are doing this, and I wouldn't you can't localize it to one joint. You just can't. Now, prolotherapy is excellent, and it's a million times better choice than any kind of surgery. And so prolozone, I absolutely agree. Or prolotherapy, prolozone, yeah, prolozone is very good, and what it does is it allows you to uh, increase the disc is getting squashed, right? So by the prolozone will increase the bony strength between them, so that's not crushing, it's not putting pressure on the bone, on the disc, and you won't have the bulging. So the that actually increases it by your own bone. It helps your body helps your vertebra make more bone. So you kind of get like a bone bridge in there that protects it from putting pressure on. So it's an excellent way of dealing with it. That's right. And if you need that work, and then that sounds wonderful, and keep doing that. And play, but I see that if let's say we could localize it to the SI joint, or it's involved. Since it's 3 other vertebra, it's involving even more than that. But what I'm saying is it's involving even more than that. It's your entire spine. It's the way you walk. It's and it could be, there's all like myofascial release and structural integration. You got to find real practitioners, real practitioners. There's people who say they are, but you've got to get it through word of mouth. Look at the comments on their social media or their website, or get from word of mouth, because these are the therapies that will actually get to the core of what's going on, and the core of what's going on, structural integration, just like what the name says, and the myofascial release. So if you like, for the fascia, which is connects muscles, if the fascia gets locked in a particular position for whatever reason, whether it's physical or emotional trauma, and it's locked in that way, it's going to pull so wherever that muscle is going and it's attached to, whether it's a leg bone or a vertebra in your back, wherever it's attached to, it'll be pulling that. And so there's no way to deal with that, the pain from that, by working at the level of the bone. You've got to release that fascia so that the muscle relaxes, right? So and that's very important. And locked in those fascia are emotions and stuff that needs to come out. So it's a very powerful therapy. So myofascial release, structural integration, absolutely. And then if you do need the prolotherapy, which sounds like you might, that's very good. Now exosomes and all that, it's a new part of fashionable medicine. Exosomes, NAD plus, everyone's doing it. Yeah, exosomes are a critical, essential part of cellular biology. Our cells are making them all the time. Is their application in this particular situation going to be helpful to you? Perhaps, but exosomes, stem cells, all those, they can, of course, be miraculous if they're used appropriately at the right time. But remember something too. Even you go to a structural integration, you go to myofascial release, you get all the physical work done. Remember, your bones have a health, your nerves have a health, your tendons have a health. What does that mean? They have health. They consist of cells that function. They need proper nutrition. They need proper rest. They all need the same thing. So again, you, by cleansing your body and getting yourself as healthy as possible, and resting, and then seeing someone like myofascial release and a structural integration, do that together, and have them work with this guy, because if they're all communicating, it's much more important. And don't forget the biological dentist. Hey, Instagram. Uh, Jeez. Okay. Anyway, Landon, please do that. I promise you, that's good. That's what you need to do. I'm glad you got out of the mainstream death train, but and you're going to do this. You got to do that. Okay. So the mainstream death train. By the way, hospitals. Um, you know, I used to try to be. I was worried about whatever being canceled or whatever that is, but I really can't anymore, because what I see going on. I'm telling you what I see going on, and I have seen for almost 4 decades, 4.5 decades in the hospitals, is a level of evil that I can't comprehend. And even for those innocent ones that work there that don't know what they're doing, um, it doesn't matter if you don't know what you're doing. Am I on, by the way? Okay, because I'm not getting message. Am I on, anybody? I should just do Instagram. Hello, folks. Am I on? Am I on? Anybody? Okay, so I have no. Oh, great. I'm on. Okay. Oh, how nice. Jeez. All right. So, anyway, what I've got to tell you is this: the we are convinced that that they're telling the truth, that they're trying to help us. And it's not anywhere true. They're not trying to help us. They're not trying to help us. And even those that work there that are innocent and think that they believe it, are finding out, because all you got to do is work there long enough and see that whatever they say they're doing, they're not. They're not helping anybody. They've never helped anybody in the world get resolved with diabetes or high blood pressure, anything. They don't ever, ever. But what they do is destroy, maim, mayhem, and it's an evil. It's Mengele on steroids. I'm telling you. We got a lady in our group now who's being held hostage by the hospitals. They've decided she is going to die, so they're not going to help her in ways they can. It's, for example, it reminds me of hospice. You're in hospice. Now, we're not going to give you anything to help you, but oxygen, nah, man, blood transfusion, nah. I mean, So if you haven't seen this yet, see it. But you got to stay away from it. I'm just telling you, just medical insurance. Don't get it. Don't get it. Because why do you get it? So do you what? You have a ticket into you want a ticket? You want to get a ticket into the House of Horrors? You want a ticket into the House of Horrors? Get medical insurance. I want to have medical service. I don't want to have it because I don't want them to say. I want them that when they see me at the say, no, we don't want this guy. Okay, I want to be unacceptable. You don't want to go in there. Evil, 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 evil. Okay, so now let's see if we can find somebody else here. I don't know what time it is. What time is it? Okay. Did we? Oh, here I didn't get this one. Okay, this is W W W Harris. Hello, I have been suffering from a parasite infection in upper body tissue, lymphatic system, nervous system, and brain. Has white matter lesions. USA and Thailand docs gave a low dose for only 3 to 5 days, which did not work. How many grams of fenbendazole should I be taking daily? Okay, W Harris, you can't. That's not the way to look at this. All right. So for me to even give you any advice, I have to know what's happening. You weren't able to provide me with information. So we need to talk. We need to talk. You need to join the group or somehow do a consultation. Somehow we need to talk because you're saying you have a parasite infection in your upper body lymphatic tissue and nervous system and brain has white matter lesions. Okay, so that's a lot of different information that doesn't fit. So how many grams of fenbendazole? So really, I'd love to answer your question, but I don't understand it. And I don't think you two either. I think you've been overwhelmed to begin. Because obviously you've gone to the U.S. and Thailand, and the doctors don't know. By the way, the reason the doctors don't know if you go to every country is because they're all the same. They're all on the same team. But anyway, I don't know what you're talking about. White matter lesions. What does that mean? That's a lot of things. Multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's. So. Which are they called this different? So they have different names for different aspects of white matter problems. So, so white matter problems. Also, we know that taking drugs like Lipitor damage the white matter. But I don't know how. The only way you can know what you're saying right now is that they've done MRIs of your brain. Why did they do that? What's going on with the lymphatic tissue? If you got an infection in your lymphatics, well, that's not fenbendazole because you've got a different kind of a parasite. So I don't know what's going on. Please, W. Harris, you got to get in touch with me, okay? And maybe they didn't give you all the information, which I don't doubt. They're not, they're not. In the hospitals and doctors, they're not only evil in that they keep doing what they know is not hurting. They keep doing it. They keep doing it, but they also don't. A lot of them are mean, and it's anyway. Listen, I think we basically got through all the questions today, amazingly enough. But really, all the different questions. I hope you hear the commonality of them all, and that is that we're really all at the only question we should be asking is what is keeping me from doing what I know that I need to do. How many alcoholics don't know they shouldn't stop drinking? That they should stop drinking. Right? How many obese people know that they shouldn't, that they should change their diet, eating habits? How many don't know that? Huh? How many heroin addicts don't know that they'd be better off not to shoot heroin? Okay, so that's not so we know. If you're sick, you know. You know. I don't care if you know, you know, you know. You know. It's you. So your question is, your problem is you. That's it, or me. My problem is me. Your problem is you. Right? That's our problem. If you want to find out what the problem is, go run into the bathroom and look in the mirror. You're going to find the problem. That's the problem. And when you find the problem, ask the problem. Try to get connected to that person. And you can do that with your eyes closed. You can go in there and go inside and find out who just listen what's going on. But you've got to be close to yourself. You've got to learn to develop an intimacy with you. You got to know. I mean, I really know me. I know me really well, and I know. And in the end, you wind up saying, you start praying to God, like, help me, help me, help me, help me. Right? So that's our question. Okay. And we get distracted by looking for things. There's nothing out there that's going to change in here. Okay. And you got BRCA mutations. I understand. So they got you with these words. To forget the BRCA mutations. Listen, less than 10% of people with breast CFCs have BRCA. Meaning more than 90% don't. Question. The person with BRCA who has CFCs, did they get it because of BRCA, or did they get it for the same reason that the other 90% got it? Nobody knows. You don't know if that's what did it. It's just a story that's got you chasing something. These are stories that get you to buy stuff. These are incredibly sophisticated advertising campaigns, linguistic advertising campaigns. They're going to give you names and then genetics. I've got a 3B. What's your bull? Okay. It's marketing to get you to buy something that's not going to work. What do you mean it's not going to work? My mother. Okay. Anyway, I'm telling you, if you don't believe me, then that's because you're not listening. Because if you listen, you'll know that I'm speaking the truth. All right. God, help me, help me. Help me get out of the way of me. That's our prayer. Okay. We found the enemy. It's us. All right, you guys. Sweaty Cup next week. Aloha.